Ooh. So could mean that guys like Lawrence Okoli, and especially if it's your right eye, if Jake's getting hit in his right eye, that usually would mean that he's getting jabbed, because that jab in orthodox would come out from the left hand on the right eye side.
And that experience would have been somewhat of a dawn of realization upon Jake Paul that this is actually happening now. So to an extent, I'll be honest, I actually feel sorry for Jake Paul.
Reports suggest Paul was dropped during a recent sparring session with a heavyweight as he trains for his upcoming bout with Anthony Joshua. Paul later appeared with a visibly swollen and bruised eye, explaining that the injury occurred while working rounds with Lawrence Okoli.
Yes. Keep it going. Way too long. There you go. Good round, Jake. Check that.
Joey Knight noted that Jake Paul has been sparring with elite heavyweight boxers such as Lawrence Okoli, Frank Sanchez, and Jared Anderson. Throughout these sessions, Paul showed clear signs of wear, with visible injuries reflecting how intense the training has been. Knight referred to this stretch as the most difficult week of Paul's camp, explaining that the size, power, and experience of his sparring partners took a real physical toll. The marks and bruising seen afterward highlighted just how demanding preparation has been for a fight against an opponent like Anthony Joshua. According to Knight, this level of sparring has pushed Paul into unfamiliar territory, proving that even controlled rounds with top heavyweights can cause serious damage and severely test his readiness.
Ranked Lawrence Okoli. That is who Jake Paul has been sparring with over these past few weeks.
In trouble finding Hussein Mohammed early on.
And a lot of you guys will know this because Jake Paul showed the bruises and marks on his face and said that it was Lawrence Okoli that had done that. And faces don't necessarily tell you how a spar went. Some guy can have blood all over him, he can have a busted up nose, but he still won the rounds in sparring. But I can only imagine that this week has been a very, very humbling experience for Jake Paul. In fact, the past few weeks will have been eye-opening for Jake Paul. A past few weeks where he has sparred the likes of Lawrence Okoli, of Jared Anderson, and of Frank Sanchez as well. And being that I have seen Jake Paul go life and death with Tommy Fury, you can guarantee you that Okoli, that Anderson, and that Frank Sanchez have basically manhandled Jake Paul in there. And that experience would have been somewhat of a dawn of realization upon Jake Paul that this is actually happening now. So to an extent, I'll be honest, I actually feel sorry for Jake Paul. I don't, because then I remember the 70-odd million that he's reported to be earning at the end of this fight. But you can't deny, right, that in a world where these almost fantasy fights and whatnot are making such a shitload of cash, that Jake Paul's probably being paid in line for this fight, actually. And the reason I say he's being paid in line is because I really don't think it takes a genius to work out where I'm going with my prediction for this fight. And that is obviously, no, in fact, drum roll, please. AJ via knockout, obviously, technical knockout, if Jake gets
Jake Paul's choice to train against top-tier heavyweights has sparked serious debate among boxing fans and analysts. While Paul has built his profile by stepping into the ring with recognizable names, his preparation for a showdown with Anthony Joshua is revealing how difficult this challenge truly is. Recent training clips show Paul absorbing heavy power from much larger sparring partners, exposing gaps that never surfaced in his earlier fights. Veteran analyst Wade has pointed out that these sessions have uncovered a major weakness in Paul's game. Reports suggest he was even stopped during sparring, raising concerns about his ability to withstand the strength and force that seasoned heavyweights bring. This has fueled doubts about whether Paul's confidence matches his actual readiness to face a former world champion like Joshua.
Question is, which one of those two things is happening? And question is, how is it going down? Because what we know about Anthony Joshua is that he has a nasty lead hook, and he's going to have a reach advantage on Jake, just like Lawrence Okolie does in the gym, which is why Jake has brought him in. So that jab's going to be effective. That lead hand of AJ is going to be effective. How does Jake maneuver around that? And again, you can look at this a couple of ways. One, okay, you get hit with it in camp, so you don't get hit with it in the fight, which is why you bring these heavyweights in. It's why you bring Jared Anderson, Lawrence Okolie, Frank Sanchez in. Or two, there's a massive flaw in what Jake's doing, that he's continually getting hit with this, and the indication that he's getting hit by Okolie means he's going to get hit the same way with Anthony Joshua. I tend to believe a little bit of both, right? You do this so that it doesn't happen, but also how much can Jake really learn and to avoid something that's coming out with the jab or with the lead hook, or just again the distance control and the range of a guy like Okolie and a guy like AJ. That
Footage from Jake Paul's sparring sessions suggests he has taken repeated shots to the chin from heavyweight opponents, with visible bruising highlighting the physical cost of these rounds. Training alongside fighters like Lawrence Okolie represents a level of intensity Paul has never faced before. Analysts observing the sessions point out that the blend of size, strength, and refined skill in these sparring partners is putting serious pressure on Paul, revealing gaps in his defensive structure and his ability to absorb sustained punishment.
4'6", he isn't 250 pounds. He's not a natural heavyweight, and you can say that's an advantage to Jake. He's going to be able to move around a little bit. Again, we'll talk about his feet in a second, but it's more to me the fact that what we're not seeing is the biggest weakness of Jake's, on top of the fact that he's gotten an eye smashed up in sparring. They said Frank Sanchez made his nose look like a crescent moon. We'll get to that in a second. Lawrence Okolie is giving him a freaking shiner in sparring. So again, you could say that's great work from Jake to be able to have these high-level guys come in, but you also have to admit that he's getting hit, and he's getting hit a lot by guys that aren't Anthony Joshua in terms of their skill and ability, or at least not at the highest level that AJ has been to. So,
but we brought in world champion heavyweight sparring partners, guys who are 270 pounds, 250 pounds, sparring them, has been insane. I still got the remnants of
I see you taking a little shot there. I like that you're taking those shots.
Castillo, respected analyst, puts it plainly, stating that stepping into the ring with Joshua would be a harsh reality for Paul. He argues that even with intense heavyweight sparring, Paul's ability to withstand Joshua's knockout power remains highly doubtful. Castillo adds that if Paul were to last even 3 rounds against Joshua, it would already be viewed as a major accomplishment. The message is straightforward. Training alongside heavyweights may offer exposure, but it cannot truly replicate the constant pressure, experience, and force of an elite former champion. The difference between influencer boxing, controlled matchups, and an authentic world-class heavyweight fight is immense.
I think it could go, honestly speaking, if Jake can last 3 rounds, in a way he's kind of won a mental victory, because I'll be real, I think everybody's expecting AJ to come there and blast them out in 1 round. But I think a moral victory would be if Jake just lands 1 stun punch on him. That'd be good enough for him. But kudos to Jake Paul for even doing this, because honestly speaking, I'm not gonna lie to you, one of the greatest moments that I've witnessed in boxing history, and I know Jake Paul is obviously an influencer, and I'm a boxing fan. I love boxing. So this is a bit weird to say that this is quite a huge moment, but just when he came out last year, and he came out of his brother, and he came out a low rider, I got goosebumps, because in that moment I said to myself, how can anybody watch this and not feel like dreams can't come true? He must even surprise himself looking at that and think to himself, how on earth am I even here fighting Mike Tyson? And one more thing, even with speaking of that, I give him a lot of respect for not knocking out Mike Tyson, because he could have. And so I respect him for that. So against AJ, and for AJ as well, AJ gets a lot of flack, but at the same time, I think AJ's he's about 35, 36, 37 right now. He doesn't really have anything else to prove right now, so why not cash out of a big fight against
Simon Jordan, speaking alongside the TalkSport host, weighed in on Anthony Joshua's fight-tending power and how it significantly elevates the risk for Jake Paul. As the matchup approaches, it's increasingly being viewed less as a novelty and more as a legitimately dangerous contest. Analysts stress that Joshua's ability to stop opponents with a single shot isn't hypothetical. It's backed by years of experience as a heavyweight champion, built on precision, timing, and devastating power. Paul's rounds with heavyweight. Sparring partners are designed to prepare him for moments where one mistake can change everything. Still, even seasoned experts agree that no training environment can truly match the intensity, pressure, and danger of facing a proven heavyweight champion when the lights are on. And the fight is real.
And you got Brian Norman Jr. all in the 154-pound category. So it's a tough division. So it wouldn't at all surprise me if he's unable to win a world title because the opposition is good. But maybe if he boiled down to 147 again, he would have a better chance.
Last thing I want to ask you about, Barry, is the big news regarding Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul. One of the biggest quotes, two of the quotes that stuck out to me was that David Hayes said that fight could be Jake Paul's last day on earth. And I think Gareth A. Davis has described it as a freak show. Some people are saying, AJ's grabbing the bag. There's nothing wrong with that because anybody else, if they got offered that kind of money, they would do it. And some people are suggesting he might damage his legacy. Where do you sit with the decision of him taking that fight? And it's a professional 8-round fight as well.
Yes, it's a highly dangerous fight for Jake Paul. I don't know what he's doing unless they have done some sort of caveat or some sort of agreement that he says he's going to go easy on him or he's not going to go flat out. But I've been tossing this up and down in my mind and trying to figure how and under God when he had agreed to fight someone like Tank Davis, who is several divisions below him. That's more like what Jake Paul does, and then he goes from there to fighting Anthony Joshua. I mean, just look at what happened to Francis Ngannou, who's a big, athletic, tough guy and had gone 12 rounds with Tyson Fury and given him a real ding-dong, and then he gets absolutely obliterated in a round and a half against Joshua. That shows you, despite the fact that he's been knocked out since by Daniel Dubois, who could knock out anybody, by the way, in any weight division or in any era of the heavyweight division. He's such a powerful guy, he could knock anybody out if he hits them properly. But it just seems utter madness. And
that wraps things up for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.